The movies may be out of theaters, but the submissions are still rolling in. Wolverine is slashing through the charts. Meanwhile, Venom is oozing onto the list, proving fans can't get enough of this symbiote. But which book dominated the month? Here's a clue. It's an absolute knockout. Let's see which comics had collectors flooding the grading lines. This is Newly Slabs. The Newly Slabs, the top CGC submissions for January 2025. This is a list of books that were submitted to CGC. Okay, let's take a look at the books in our list, starting with number 10. TMNT, The Last Ronin. This book came out in 2020 for IDW. As of today, there's 6,632. 30 days ago, there was 6,430. There was a difference of 202 comics that were submitted between now and then, which is an increase of 3.1%. People are getting ready for what's to come with TMNT, especially when it comes to The Last Ronin.
Yeah, and I just asked that everybody watching, these numbers, even for me, that's been collecting for 40 years, these were such a surprise to see, because I've never really paid attention to this aspect as much. But and 202 just in the month of this book is pretty amazing.
So we'll see here with this book. Like I said, there's a video game that's in the horizon. I heard rumors of a live action movie for this story, which I'm going to be shocked to see if it actually comes to fruition. I will see it if it happens, but it's one of those things like, this is not a kid's comic. This is a very mature reader's Turtles book. And to know that is, to make it a movie is kind of interesting to me, especially with the way the property is. Will Nickelodeon allow that? That's my curiosity. Mm-hmm. So that's number 10, TMNT, The Last Ronin, number 1. Let's take a look at number 9. Here's a book that I didn't see it at first. This is a book. It's a new book, so it's not old. It's Captain America 14. This is the Dan Panosian Doom variant. This book came out in 2024 from Marvel Comics. Currently, there's 226 slabs of this book. It was 30 days ago, there was only 14. So that's a difference of 212 books. This has an increase of 1,514.3%.
Like, I get it. I remember this book being on FOC and seeing the cover of it when they were doing all those Doom variants. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is that? I ordered it right away. I think I ordered 2 copies even. Mm-hmm. I love the cover, but I had no idea that many people were sending them in. Mm-hmm. I'm not really, they're probably sending them in anticipation of Secret Wars and all that, but yeah, that's a lot in one go for sure, 1 month.
And keep in mind, one of the other things that we wanted to point out, and this is something from this list that really stood out to me, is that some of these books that are being shipped by retailers. So retailers are sending them in bulks. And with this book, that might just be the case, where there was a bulk shipment of these books that was being sent. I truly believe this is a beautiful cover, and I agree with Jean. A version would be nice, but I kind of like the fact that the trade dress is behind his head instead of being in front of his head. So it kind of serves its purpose. I'm a fan of the trade dress, my personal opinion.
Yeah, I like that it's, like you said, it's behind him, and it's not really obtrusive, like it's just kind of there. Virgin would be cool, but this kind of lets you know as well, not that you need to with the shield, but I do like that it's there. Great cover.
It is a great cover. Let's take a look at our next book. Woo-hoo! This book just keeps on being shipped, right? Spawn number 1, 1992 for Image Comics. Now they're 35,194 slabs. Beforehand, it was 34,967 slabs. That's a difference of 227 new books. The percent increase is 0.6.
And as I always like to, I will point out again that I have this in a newsstand. So I'm very happy about that. I just look at these numbers and just go, obviously, it was a super high printed book, but 35,000 slabs. I mean, holy, that is a lot of slabs.
That's a lot of slabs. And that's the point of this, right? The point is to see that these books exist, that they're not as rare. They're out in the wild. So people have them slabbed. One of the things we didn't do is we're not going to show you how many are 9.8s versus 9.6. That's way too much information. But that information does still exist, and you could get that. So this is all coming from the CGC census. So this book, 35,000 copies. I'm curious if the day will come, and I think it will, where this hits 40,000.
Oh, definitely. I think if it's gone up just in January, if they announce a movie, like not just announce it, but if it actually starts to get rolling, there is going to be so many of these slabs out and about. I think it's going to probably hurt the value a little bit of them.
Yeah. But, and being that there's a lot of copies of this book, I don't know about how much can you really hurt the value of this book anymore. You know what I mean? All right, let's take a look at number 7. Here's another book that's been slabbed a lot. And it's Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8, 1984 from Marvel Comics. Currently, there's 30,510. A month ago, there was 30,195 copies that were slabbed. That's a difference of 261 newly slabbed books. This is a percentage increase of 0.8%. Another book that a lot of people are shipping out with expectation.
Yeah, totally agree. This one, it's one of those things where there's a real sweet spot. And I was thinking about it when we were talking before this about a different book. But the value ratio for this is you can pick up a raw copy of this fairly easily. They're pretty common. And you can get it in high grade for not a ton of money. It is expensive. But the potential turnaround, if you got 25 of them and sent them in, hoping for that 9 or 10, is enormous return.
Yeah. And again, expectation. Just like Spawn, there's expectation for this. This is probably one of the most sought after books right now that most people have. Definitely after Deadpool was over and all said and done, this is a book that seems to be the book that kept coming back on major lists. So the fact that they're being shipped out over 260 copies were sent. There'll most likely be more come February. I'm looking forward to February's numbers to see what's the difference, because this is something that a lot of people are going to be hunting for, and they want to be able to get slab copies and high grade slab copies.
I've been waiting for this book to be affordable in a 9.8 for years, and it's just not. I do own one already, a Canadian price variant, but the condition is not really great. It's probably only a 6 or a 7.5. But
I was able to pick up a copy at Heroes Con this past year, and I got it signed by Jim Shooter and John Beatty. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get that Mike Zeck signature. If the opportunity arises, I will. Mike Zeck doesn't really do shows like that before, like he used to, so I might just stick to those two. But I'm happy with my copy. I'm satisfied with my copy. I'm satisfied with my grade. It's not a 9 or anything like that, but it's a pretty solid copy.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at number 6, and that is a new one, Absolute Superman number 1. Currently, there's 323 slabs. That means there was an increase of 34 slabs, and that's a difference of $289, and that is a percentage increase of 850%. This one shocks me, and what shocks me is that why not more?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise to see this one. Usually In the other ones, we're looking at numbers in the hundreds, and this one much lower. And maybe it's just the variant. Maybe they're sending a different.
There are variants being sent, but this, I'll tell you, giving you guys a little spoiler. This is the only absolute Superman in this list.
Yeah. It is strange that it's not sent more, but it is, like you said, it's still 850% increase. So they're being sent in, and that's in 30 days. This is another one that would be interesting to see in February where it's at.
Yeah, I think we will see it in February. I have that feeling. Absolute Wonder Woman is a book that I think we're going to see on this list coming up next month. If not, it's going to show up sooner or later. So there you have it, number 6. Let's take a look at number 5. They're still shipping them out. Wolverine number 1, 1982 from Marvel Comics. Currently, that's 30,510 copies in the census from a difference of 30,195. That is 350 new books were shipped out. The percent increase is 1%. I can't believe there's that many copies of this book.
I truly believe that this is one of those instances where someone is looking for that 9, 9, or 10 in this book. And that's where that's why these submissions are going in. I'll be shocked if in February this moves as many. Like, it just seems like it's a great book. Obviously, I love this book. I have it, but that is, and again, 30,000 slabs. Wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot. Over 30,000 slabs, and the movie's behind us, so I can't see them sending more right now. But they're sending them. 300 copies were shipped.
Yeah, the only thing I can see with February is the announcement or the little kind of teaser that adamantium is mentioned in the Cat movie with the Eternal being made out of adamantium. So
yeah,
that might draw something.
That's a possibility. You may have something there, because the term adamantium is notorious with Wolverine. They go hand in hand. So who knows? But we got Wolverine. I don't see us getting Wolverine anytime soon. The other thing that I find interesting, and this is something that I would like, next week I get to see the movie, so maybe they bring it up. If they find adamantium based off of the Celestial that's in the North Pole, does that mean this universe, this MCU, does not have a Wolverine as of yet with adamantium claws?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that before. And it's always been interesting to me how they're going to work that out. I mean, having that whole elemental being made of adamantium, like, that is a lot of adamantium.
Yeah, that is a lot of adamantium. Let's take a look at number 4. X-Men number 1. This came out in 1991 from Marvel Comics. Surprisingly, and I'm going to say surprisingly, there's currently 23,917 copies of this book. That's from 23,589 copies. That's a difference of 328 books that were shipped. That's 1.4%. Unfortunately, the metrics did not give us which book was being shipped. So they put them all together. I'm assuming they're referring to the regular floppies and not the special edition version. But I don't know exactly which book is actually being shipped. I am shocked to know that there's not more slabs.
That is a surprise, but still, even 328 in 1 month, because this is kind of a new show. We don't really have any previous numbers for it, but it's a lot to send in a month of a very, very common book for sure.
Well, the most common you could think of, 8 million copies. It's got to be the most common book out there, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting enough, and like you said, 328 copies is a lot, but I think 23,000 is a small number for this book, knowing that we have 8 million copies in existence.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Totally agree with that. It just and plus, with all the different variants of the cover and different covers, yeah, it is amazing that there isn't way more slabs than that.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's number 4, X-Men number 1. Number 3, Venom Lethal Protector number 1. This came out in 1993 for Marvel Comics. 24,173 copies exist now. Slab copies, I mean. And that's from 23,777. That's a difference of 394 new slabs. That's an increase of 1.7%. See, this seems a little more common to me.
Yeah, and if I remember right with this cover, this is one that is would be very difficult to press because I believe it has an emboss on it.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to press this.
So, which is, you're just sending them as is and hoping for the best. Give them a.
Keep in mind, it's also a card stock. Yeah. So that kind of helps it in that way. There's also the gold cover. So, but this is, cover A, as we used to call them. A lot of people have this book, and a lot of people are shipping them.
It's an awesome cover. It's classic. Mm-hmm. I love it. I mean, I have one. I don't have it slab, but it's such a common book that I hadn't even considered slabbing it, actually.
I have a copy. Unfortunately, I have this really bad crease on it that really irritates me, and mine is signed by Bagley. I want to be able to get another one someday. I'm waiting for it to cool down so I could just pick it up at a, very inexpensive price, because there are a lot of copies of this book.
Yeah.
Let's go to number 2. And I don't think it's going to be that shocking, but Absolute Batman number 1, cover C, the Jim Lee cardstock variant. This is a new book, came out in 2024 for DC Comics. Currently, there's 592 copies. That was a difference of 187 copies 30 days ago. 405 copies of this book was shipped. That's an increase of 216.6%. Not surprising.
Yeah, this is like Absolute Batman. Like I said before, it's the one that started all of the hype around the Absolute universe. So there was such a shortage of covers and sales and reprints that those people that had these books were just feverishly sending them in as quick as possible to get them out on the market. Yeah. This is another one that'll be interesting to see if the same numbers keep going for this one.
Yeah, 400 copies, man. That's a lot of copies being sent out to CGC. And that made number 2. You know what I mean? But this is a great cover. This Jim Lee cover is a great cover. We're not talking about the Virgin. This is the minimal trade dress. That was cover price. The Virgin was a little bit more. But this one is a great cover. I personally like this cover a lot. And I think there'll be more to come. And number 1, as if it's any surprise, is Absolute Batman number 1. It is not the cover C. It is the standard. Absolute Batman number 1, cover A, is the number 1 slab book of January. This is the one that received more copies than anything. Currently, there is now 1,563 copies of this book. That's from the 932 copies. That's a difference of 631 books that were shipped out, which is a percentage of 67.7%. We already got 1,500 copies slabbed, and a lot of them are high grade.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think also for your notes, this is the Dragato cover, isn't it?
This is cover A.
I expected to see this, but the number is still shocking, still surprising to me. Like I saw, like when the price when it came out, and it was like no one had it, and people were like, the local store I go to had ordered a lot of it smartly, but we're selling it for $15, then $20, then $30, then $40 for the single issue. And I knew as soon as that happened, I'm like, there is going to be a ton of these hitting the market graded.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is a book that when it came out, It was a lot of copies. Of course, it was the #1 book for the year 2024. So you could assume that many people were shipping them out. Many retailers and dealers were shipping them out, and they were shipping them out in bulk. So, and here's something that I want to emphasize with this list. This is also including books that are signed. So this is just one consolidated list of books that were shipped. If the book was Absolute Batman, regardless of whether it had a signature or not, it is going to be counted. And the influx that came in, 631 copies in the month of January alone, is saying a lot.
That's probably some ideas of a grader's hell right there. Is you open up your workflow for the morning, and all it is 400 Absolute Batman #1s that you have to grade.
Oh gosh, right? Imagine. Could be worse, right?
It could be. Hey, I'd love to retire down to Sarasota and do this for a living.
Yeah. So there you have it, guys. That is the list for today. Those are what we call the top CGC submissions. We call them, this segment's called Newly Slabs. We hope you like it. We're going to do it again in 1 month and take a look to see which of these books return to this list. If you are submitting books, let me know in the comments which books you have shipped out, and if any of these are some of those books that you shipped out, and tell me why. I'd love to hear it. Make sure you let us know. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more comic content. Check out these other videos for even more insight, and I'll see you at the next one. Excelsior.